Lightwater Valley has undergone many transformations over the years, introducing new rides and experiences while saying goodbye to others. Some of these lost attractions were thrilling, others were family favourites, and a few were once considered icons of the park. While they may no longer stand, their impact on Lightwater Valley's history remains. In the late 1980s, Lightwater Valley was expanding rapidly, looking to establish itself as a serious contender in the UK amusement park scene. The success of the Rat, an enclosed coaster that debuted in 1987, proved that thrill rides could draw in larger crowds. Building on this momentum, the park introduced its first looping coaster in June 1988, Super Looper. Marketed as Britain's fastest roller coaster and the only one with a double loop, the new attraction encouraged guests to venture further into the park. Manufactured by Suke, Super Loop was a large steel roller coaster with a straightforward grey and white colour scheme. Unlike more elaborate coaster stations, Super Looper featured a simple two-sided open-air platform where guests would board and disembark. Riders were secured with relatively thin over-the-shoulder restraints, standard for coasters of this type at the time. The ride operated with two trains, one red and one blue, each seating 24 passengers in a two-across configuration. An interesting feature of the ride was the seating arrangement in the final cars. Its seats faced toward each other, meaning that two riders travelled forwards, while the other two faced backwards, looking at each other during the ride. The ride experience began immediately upon dispatch, with the train ascending a lift hill to a height of 65 feet. Upon cresting the hill, it took a curved drop to the right, building momentum before plunging into two consecutive vertical loops, the first ever inversions at Lightwater Valley. After exiting the loops, the track transitioned into a large undulating helix that completed 2.5 revolutions before smoothly guiding the train back into the station. With a top speed of 43 miles per hour, the coaster delivered a thrilling, albeit brief, ride experience. While Super Looper was a key attraction in the park's late 80s expansion, its status as a major thrill ride was short-lived. In 1991, Lightwater Valley unveiled the Ultimate, an ambitious record-breaking roller coaster that quickly overshadowed its predecessors. As a result, Super Looper began to fade into the background. By the mid-1990s, the park opted to remove the ride entirely, and it was dismantled after the 1994 season. The coaster was sold to the American Adventure theme park in Derbyshire, where it reopened in 1995 under the name Iron Wolf. Its grand opening was hosted by Wolf, a popular star from the UK television show Gladiators. Over the years, the ride underwent multiple name changes at the American Adventure, but by 2004, it had ceased operations once again. Rather than being scrapped, Super Looper was repainted and found a new home in Poland. It was relocated to Legendia, a theme park in Chorzów, where it reopened in 1997 as Tic Tac Tornado. At the time, it was the largest roller coaster in Poland. Over the years, it was rebranded, eventually taking the name Devil's Loop, and as of today, the ride continues to operate. In 1996, Lightwater Valley had introduced two new roller coasters as part of its continued expansion. One of these was Viper, a Schwarzkopf CityJet model originally designed as a travelling ride. Located near the park's main entrance, it was initially introduced under the name Zyklon, before being rebranded as Viper in 1997. With its striking green and red colour scheme, the compact coaster quickly became a notable addition to the park's lineup. Riders boarded one of Viper's two-car trains, each accommodating up to 12 passengers in a single row. Unlike traditional chain lift systems, Viper featured an electric spiral lift hill that slowly raised the trains to its maximum height, while offering panoramic views of the park. Upon reaching the peak, the train plunged down a curved drop, immediately transitioning into a banked right-hand turn before rising and circling around the lift hill. A second curved drop led to another right bank turn before ascending once more and wrapping around the lift structure. The train then completed an undulating circuit around the ride's footprint, before returning to the station. Despite its unique design and placement near the entrance, Viper had a relatively short tenure at Lightwater Valley, as the park began to evolve for the new millennium. By 2001, the ride was removed, and its former location became home to Eagle's Claw, a high-thrill pendulum ride that became a staple attraction in the park. Viper would be relocated to Ladoon Castle, in Scotland, reopening in 2002 under the name Slytherin. However, it only operated for 3 seasons, before being placed into storage. After several years in limbo, the ride found a new home at Movieland Park in Italy, reopening in 2010 as Brontojet. It remained in operation there until 2019. In 1996, Lightwater Valley introduced Batflyer, a unique single-rail suspended roller coaster. Constructed in a wooded area near the park's main entrance and lake, Batflyer was positioned adjacent to the Skyroscopes, blending into the natural surroundings. Though the manufacturer remains unknown, it is speculated to be Caripro. However, given Lightwater Valley's history of in-house ride design and manufacturing at the time, its exact origins remain uncertain. Batflyer utilised single 2-passenger cars that were suspended from an overhead rail. Each car seated riders in a tandem arrangement, one in front of the other. The entire ride structure was painted deep green, to seamlessly integrate with the surrounding trees, enhancing its natural aesthetic. The experience began at ground level, where operators manually pushed each car into a vertical elevator lift. This lift, encased in wooden cladding to match the nearby Adventure Play structure, raised riders to the height of the treetops. Once at the top, the car was released into a gentle twisting layout that featured slow, wide turns. As the vehicle navigated the course, it would swing slightly outwards, adding an extra element of motion to the ride experience. Despite its novel design, Batflyer suffered from extremely low capacity, operating with only 3 individual cars. However, it managed to remain in operation for several years, before being retired at the end of the 2001 season. Following its closure, Batflyer was relocated to World in Miniature in Cornwall. It reopened there in March 2003, but its presence was short-lived. The ride was installed without proper planning permission, leading to complaints from local residents. As a result, it ceased operations in the mid-2000s, marking the end of its elusive history. In the late 1980s, Lightwater Valley underwent a significant transformation, introducing new attractions to establish itself as a theme park. Among the first true thrill rides added during this period was the Devil's Cascade, a partially enclosed water chute ride located near the park's main lake. The ride featured a slope constructed of steel rails leading into a small pond, with the upper portion enclosed within a cave and waterfall, creating an immersive and dramatic setting. The Devil's Cascade was a classic splashboat ride, similar to those found in parks and gardens across the country. It operated with a single large red boat, featuring bench seating for multiple passengers. Riders would begin their journey by entering an opening in the hillside below the drop, winding through a series of tunnels before reaching a large cave. Here, a small animatronic devil originally taunted guests, just before their inevitable plunge. As the boat was released, the waterfall covering the cave entrance was shut off just in time, allowing the boat to race down the steel slope and into the pond below, creating a massive splash. The boat was then pulled backwards to an outdoor unloading platform, before being winched back up the hill for the next group of passengers. In 1997, the ride received a retheme in line with other changes across the park. It was renamed the Toad Hole, adopting a lighter and more family-friendly tone. The boats were repainted green and the ominous devil figure was removed, shifting the ride's atmosphere away from its darker origins. However, the core experience remained the same, continuing to provide a thrilling water-based drop for guests. Despite its enduring popularity, the Toad Hole ultimately closed in 2006. By this time, the ride had aged considerably, and the plunge into untreated water no longer aligned with modern theme park standards. As a custom-designed ride integrated into the landscape, the Toad Hole was never fully removed. Today, remnants of the attraction, including the station and drop, remain, slowly being reclaimed by nature. The Grizzly Bear opened at Lightwater Valley in 2004 and was one of a number of new rides added that year. It was located in the grassy area between the Wave and the Ultimate, an open space that allowed for easy visibility of the ride. The coaster itself was a compact Zyklon model from Italian manufacturer Pinfari, known for producing small yet thrilling steel roller coasters that could be installed in limited spaces. Prior to its arrival at Lightwater Valley, it had operated at Whitley-based Spanish City Amusement Park, one of the many classic seaside amusement parks that once dotted the UK coastline. Guests approaching Grizzly Bear would pass between a pair of bear-themed totem poles before reaching a simple covered station. The coaster track was painted red with green supports, standing out against the natural landscape of the park. Riders boarded 4 passenger cars, each painted brown and adorned with a bear logo. In keeping with the ride's theme, the cars were individually named after famous bears, such as Yogi and Danny, adding a playful touch. Once dispatched, the train made a slight turn out of the station before beginning its climb up a 38-foot lift hill. At the peak, riders were treated to a moment of anticipation during a long, slow turn before plummeting down the first drop. The train then raced through a series of small hills and tight bank turns, with quick directional changes. A fast-paced helix section wrapped around the coaster's footprint, providing an exciting finale before the train slowed into the final brake run and returned to the station. Despite having a theoretical capacity of 900 riders per hour, Grizzly Bear often operated at a much lower capacity due to the park's decision to run it with only a single car on the layout at a time. This resulted in slowed dispatches and longer than necessary wait times, which may have contributed to its relatively short lifespan at Lightwater Valley. After just 5 seasons, Grizzly Bear was removed in 2008. The ride was sold to a Dutch travelling showman and began touring the fair circuit under the name London City Coaster. It was a common sight at various events in the Netherlands, offering riders the same compact yet exciting experience in different locations. By 2017, the coaster had found a more permanent home at a small Dutch amusement park. As Lightwater Valley entered the 1990 season, the park was undergoing a period of rapid expansion. With new attractions being introduced annually and construction beginning on the Ultimate, Lightwater Valley was establishing itself as a major player in the UK theme park industry. That year, the park introduced the Wave, a classic pirate ship ride that would become a staple attraction for 2 decades. Manufactured by Zamperla, the Wave was a traditional swinging ship ride, similar to those seen at amusement parks worldwide. It was located in a picturesque forested area in the southern section of the park, surrounded by trees that enhanced its immersive setting. To further complement the nautical theme, the attraction was fronted with a stone wall and a large cascading waterfall, creating an eye-catching centrepiece for the area. The ride itself sported a rich brown, red and gold colour scheme, adding to its classic pirate aesthetic. Riders would board the ship and take their seats in one of several rows before being secured with a lap bar restraint. As the ride began, the ship would swing gently back and forth, before gradually building momentum, reaching increasingly higher. At its peak, the Wave provided a weightless sensation, giving riders the thrilling experience of rising and falling in sync with the motion of the boat. The elevated position of the ride, combined with the surrounding landscaping, made it highly visible from various points across the park. Over the years, the Wave became a beloved family attraction, offering excitement for all ages, becoming a classic ride in Lightwater Valley's lineup. However, in 2010 the decision was made to retire the Wave. A new pirate ship attraction, the Flying Cutlass, was introduced in 2011 as part of the Skeleton Cove expansion, offering a similar ride experience in a refreshed setting. With its removal, the space previously occupied by the Wave remained vacant, marking the end of an era for one of Lightwater Valley's most recognisable thrill rides. Though it was replaced, many long-time visitors fondly remember the Wave as an integral part of the park's golden years, a testament to Lightwater Valley's ambitious expansion during the 1990s. The Rat, later renamed Raptor Attack, was a landmark attraction at Lightwater Valley, marking the park's first roller coaster and a major step into its evolution from a country park into a fully fledged theme park. In the mid-1980s, Lightwater Valley's owner Robert Staveley sought to expand the park's appeal by adding a thrill ride while still catering to a family audience. However, he faced an obstacle. His wife, a strong advocate for preserving the park's countryside atmosphere, was opposed to the idea of a roller coaster spoiling the landscape. After much discussion, a compromise was reached. The roller coaster could be built, but it would have to remain hidden from view. This led to the innovative decision to construct the ride underground, theming it around the eerie tunnels of a sewer rat's dwelling. An area of the park was partially excavated, and a warehouse-style building was erected, concealed by embankments and trees to maintain the natural scenery. The ride, a Schwarzkopf Wildcat coaster, had originally been built in 1976 and had operated in Belgium and Suffolk before finding a home at Lightwater Valley. On April 2, 1987, the Rat officially opened to the public. The Rat was an impressively themed coaster for its time. Guests would begin their experience by queuing under a covered area before descending into the underground sewer system. The walk to the loading platform led them through dimly lit tunnels, complete with water effects and metal staircases, enhancing the feeling of venturing deep beneath the surface. Once inside the subterranean station, riders would board 4-passenger rat-shaped cars, sitting in pairs. As the ride dispatched, they would climb a lift hill surrounded by glowing eyes, giving the impression of lurking rodents. At the peak, the track disappeared into total darkness, making the upcoming layout unpredictable. The ride featured a thrilling series of drops, bank turns, and fast-paced transitions, made even more intense by the complete lack of visibility. The disorienting nature of the layout made the ride feel far faster than it actually was. After navigating the twists and turns of the sewers, the train would return to the station, and guests would exit through similar themed tunnels, re-emerging into daylight. The Rat quickly became a signature attraction at Lightwater Valley. It nearly doubled the park's gate figures upon opening, and was credited with transforming Lightwater Valley into a true theme park. The ride's level of theming was remarkable for its era, providing an immersive experience far beyond a standard roller coaster. In October 2009, after over 2 decades of operation, the Rat closed for an extensive retheme. The ride reopened on April 4, 2010 as Raptor Attack. The coaster itself remained the same, but the storyline and environment were completely redesigned. Guests now entered an abandoned underground mine, encountering machinery, an old mine office, and eerie atmospheric effects. The Rat theming was replaced by animatronic velociraptors, strategically placed to startle riders in the darkness. The minecart-themed ride vehicles retained the same 4-passenger configuration, but the enhanced storyline and added elements breathed new life into the aging coaster. Raptor Attack continued to be a favourite among visitors, offering a thrilling experience with a strong narrative. However, in 2019, the ride closed permanently, marking the end of its 32-year history at Lightwater Valley. Unlike many defunct coasters, Raptor Attack was not scrapped. Instead, it was relocated to Cotaland in Austin, Texas, where it was refurbished and reopened as Texas Wildcat in late 2021. The ride continues to operate today, giving a new generation of thrill seekers a chance to experience its fast-paced layout, albeit without the original underground theming that made it so unique. Spurred on by the success of the Rat, Robert Staveley sought to build a proper roller coaster that would take full advantage of Lightwater Valley's unique topography. The result was the Ultimate, an ambitious project that began construction in 1990 and came with a hefty price tag of £5.2 million. Set on the southwestern edge of the park, the ride was designed to utilise the natural valley and woodlands, creating an experience unlike any other. With a sprawling layout featuring 2 lift hills and a staggering 7,442 feet of track, the Ultimate became the longest roller coaster in the world upon its grand opening on July 17, 1991. The station for the Ultimate was housed in a large 2-storey wooden building, capable of accommodating both of the ride's trains simultaneously. These trains, one red and one blue, each featured a small locomotive-themed front. Initially, the trains were equipped with over-the-shoulder restraints, but these were later replaced with lap bars to improve rider comfort. The journey began with the train rolling out of the station and making a gentle left-hand curve into the first lift hill. Upon cresting the lift, riders would plunge into the first major drop, followed by a sequence of airtime hills before entering a straight stretch of track cutting through a woodland area. This section provided a brief respite, before the train encountered a series of 5 small bunny hills, which led directly into the second lift hill. Upon reaching the top of the second lift, the train curved to the left and travelled along a straight section before descending into the second major drop. From here, the Ultimate transitioned into a thrilling sequence of 6 high-speed bank turns that wove through the dense woodland, hugging the terrain for a dynamic and unpredictable ride. The final section of the coaster featured a mix of sweeping curves, helixes and enclosed tunnels, before riders hit the final brake run. A short lift hill then brought the train back into the station, completing the epic journey. Over the years, the Ultimate became a signature attraction at Lightwater Valley, drawing thrill seekers eager to experience its relentless speed and terrain-hugging layout. However, its rough ride experience became notorious, particularly in later years as maintenance challenges mounted. The ride often suffered from downtime, and its extended layout made upkeep a daunting task for the park. The roller coaster operated for nearly 3 decades before closing in 2019. Initially, it remained closed under the guise of temporary maintenance. However, in 2020, Lightwater Valley announced its shift toward a more family-oriented focus, casting doubt on the Ultimate's future. In January 2023, it was officially confirmed that the Ultimate would not reopen, marking the end of an era for one of the most ambitious and unique coasters ever built. Twister was a spinning wild mouse roller coaster that operated at Lightwater Valley from 2001 until 2019. Manufactured by Reversion, it was centrally located within the park, and originally opened under the name Treetop Twister in May 2001. Riders were aboard one of the circular cars from a covered station, with each seating 4 passengers, similar to a waltzer car. The cars were themed to resemble stylised monkeys, featuring grinning faces and bulging eyes. Upon dispatch, riders would loop around the front of the ride before ascending a 42-foot chain lift to the highest point of the track. The ride layout followed a standard wild mouse design, beginning with a series of sharp hairpin turns at the upper level. These tight turns provided sudden lateral forces, a signature feature of this coaster type. Riders then encountered a small dip, followed by a larger undulating drop, leading into the lower section of the track. At this stage, the spinning mechanism engaged, allowing the cars to rotate freely as they navigated more hairpin turns and sudden drops. The unpredictability of the spinning motion added to the chaotic, thrilling nature of the ride. While Treetop Twister was a fun and popular family coaster, it suffered 2 serious accidents during its time at Lightwater Valley. The first occurred just a month after its opening, in June 2001, when a tragic collision between 2 ride cars resulted in the death of a young rider. Following an investigation, safety modifications were made, and the ride was eventually allowed to reopen. When it returned to operation, the park decided to rename it simply Twister, possibly in an effort to distance it from the incident. For many years, Twister remained a fun family attraction within Lightwater Valley's lineup. However, in May 2019, another serious accident occurred when a young boy fell from one of the ride cars. The incident led to an immediate closure, and after further investigation, the park chose to retire the ride permanently. Twister never reopened, and was dismantled and removed from Lightwater Valley. Eagle's Claw made its debut at Lightwater Valley in 2004, taking over the former site of the Viper roller coaster. Manufactured by KMG, this afterburner ride was a thrilling pendulum-style attraction designed to give riders an intense and unpredictable experience. Unlike pirate ships, Eagle's Claw combined both swinging and spinning motions, making for an exhilarating and disorienting ride. The ride was visually striking, with deep brown support beams and a vivid yellow arm and seating that stood out within the park. Guests were seated in groups of 4 on one of 6 inward-facing sections, arranged in a circular configuration. Once secure by over-the-shoulder restraints, the floor beneath the riders would drop away, signalling the beginning of the ride cycle. The gondola would then start to swing back and forth, with the arm reaching progressively higher angles while simultaneously rotating. This combination of motions created unpredictable sensations of weightlessness, inversion-like forces, and powerful swings that thrilled riders with every cycle. Capable of holding 24 riders per cycle, Eagle's Claw became a favourite among thrill seekers, standing out as one of the more intense rides at Lightwater Valley. While the park had a wide variety of family-friendly attractions, Eagle's Claw caters specifically to those looking for high adrenaline experiences. For 20 years, Eagle's Claw remained one of the park's standout thrill rides. However, as Lightwater Valley shifted its focus towards becoming a family-oriented park aimed at younger children, high-intensity rides like Eagle's Claw no longer fit the park's new direction. At the end of the 2024 season, the ride was quietly retired. Unlike other removals, there was little fanfare surrounding its departure, and it did not appear on the park's 2025 map. Its former location was repurposed for a more family-friendly attraction, Spinbug, a rocking tug that offered a much gentler experience suited to the park's evolving demographic. The removal of Eagle's Claw marked a significant change in Lightwater Valley's ride lineup, symbolising the park's transition away from its roots of offering something for everyone. Despite its departure, the ride remains fondly remembered by those who experienced its intense swings and rotations, standing as one of the last true thrill rides in the park's history. The story of Lightwater Valley is one of constant evolution, with rides coming and going as the park changed direction over the decades. Some of these attractions were removed to make way for new additions, while others simply faded into history. But whether they lasted for just a few seasons or remained for decades, each one left its mark on those who experienced it. Though these rides are now gone, their legacy lives on in the memories of those who rode them.